all of the greatest spiritual masters of our time, people like Dyer, Guru Jagat, Deepak Chopra, Gabby Bernstein, and many others, not only learned from, but taught through A Course in Miracles. And though A Course in Miracles does teach us that God, as they call it, source, spirit, cosmic consciousness, the universe, the absolute, whatever you want to call it, didn't create a meaningless world, I'm here to break it to you guys today that you're not getting signs from the universe from the time on your phone. But there are signs out there to be had. So that's what I want to share with you today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Welcome back to another video. I'm Annie, your Silicon Valley Sage Sister, here to bring spiritual levels of consciousness to the forefront of your daily life to make life a little kinder and simpler. So when it comes to being able to see the world through spiritual levels of consciousness, being able to see signs from the universe, there's a reason why A Course in Miracles, before it even goes into the concept that, as they call it, God, source, didn't create a meaningless world, first they teach you that the only meaning anything has is the meaning you give it. I talk about this in my last video, and I want to go over it really quickly for those who are seeing this first. A Course in Miracles gives us this example. They show us, or, they talk about a cup. We call this a cup. Anything this shape we call a cup. And we've decided it's for drinking liquids. We don't call it a shovel. It's not for digging. We don't call it a bowl. It's not for eating. It's a cup, and it's made for drinking. But this piece of ceramic I'm holding in my hand with paint on it doesn't inherently have that meaning. We've given it that meaning. And we not only do this with things, but we do it with our thoughts. And there's a reason why A Course in Miracles leads us through these exercises before they ever even get into trying to help you connect with your spiritual levels of consciousness. Because we have to shed the human programming before we can tap into and really recognize what is the God, source, spirit, cosmic consciousness that's already within us. Because our lens has been painted with, has been covered in this human awareness that is clouding our spiritual consciousness, or us being able to see through our spiritual consciousness. So the other thing that we have to sort of use as a process of elimination tool before we can actually see signs from the universe is understanding, and I talked a little bit about this in my other video as well, how our brains on a human level organize things into friend, foe, or indifferent. And it organizes things more and more every day into that category of indifferent, which quite literally makes it so that we are not consciously aware of these things. So often, people don't realize that it was out there in front of them all the time, and they just weren't seeing it because they weren't consciously having a reason to do so. The example I like to share of this is when I was younger, I had a friend who had a black Jeep Grand Cherokee. And, I think I was like 11 or 12. And when I met him and started riding in his car, all of a sudden I knew black Jeep Grand Cherokees existed. But before that, I didn't. I, therefore, had no reason to notice them out in the world. All of a sudden, I know him, I know about his car, and all of a sudden, I'm seeing them everywhere. And not just Jeep Grand Cherokees, but black Jeep Grand Cherokees. And it's not like they weren't out there in the world. I just wasn't seeing them because I had no reason to consciously recognize that they were there. They hadn't been given any sort of significance or purpose in my life. So my brain was categorizing them as indifferent, and I literally wasn't noticing them. We do this all the time, with all sorts of things we don't realize. That's why we have things like change blindness as a concept in psychology. We talk about as well in things like court cases, how, eyewitnesses aren't credible in the court of law because our brains will quite literally only recognize what we've categorized as friend or faux and completely block out what we categorize as indifferent. So, especially when we understand that there are more things out in the world that we categorize as indifferent, because if we were literally consciously processing all of the input our brain is processing, we would go crazy. Like, I want to do this again, even though I did it in my last video. And then we're going to get to the new information here that I have to share. Your skin sends signals to your brain all the time. All the time. But you didn't remember you had a but until I just said but, and now you can feel the signals being sent from your skin to your brain. But before that, because when you sat down or when you put on your pants or whatever you're wearing over your butt, your brain decided that whatever that was safe, so it stopped consciously recognizing those signals. We not only do this with the sensations we experience, smell. Have you noticed that there's this thing called smell blindness? Where quite literally there's a smell that's been in the room for so long that your brain stops getting signals from your nose. Or at least it doesn't stop getting signals from your nose, but it stops consciously making you aware of those signals from your nose. We do this with our eyeballs too. And it blows me away because there's a reason why they say the secrets are hidden in plain sight. It's not because you're not seeing them that you're not recognizing them. You're seeing them. They're out there. You're just not aware that there's something to see. So you don't see them. So here's the thing about specifically angel numbers on your phone. There is no particular sequence of numbers that isn't sacred in some way. So it could be any time, and that through numerology could create something that could be considered a message. But this seeking outside validation is actually something that spirituality is trying to teach you to let go of. And so if our thoughts are things, and the only thing anything has is the meaning we give it, we have to start to recognize and through process of elimination, shed these things before we can actually start seeing what they call God's meaning in A Course in Miracles. So I want to give you a little exercise that I gave the tribe members on Instagram a couple months ago now. So I want you to, before you go to bed, whenever the next time you go to bed is, not take a nap, but like actually go to bed, I want you to open the notes on your phone or take out, you've got to be able to do this all day long. So if you can't carry a pad and paper with you, then I would recommend doing this on your phone somehow. The next morning when you wake up, not just when you check the time, but literally every time you pick up your phone, I want you to write down what time it is. And I want you to, at the end of the day, count how many times it was a repeating number like 1010, 1111, 222, or how many times it was something random like 247, 359, especially for those of you who have thought that you were seeing angel numbers in the time on your phone. And what this does is it helps us start to recognize that it's not that we weren't seeing the time on our phone at other times. It's that we weren't given a reason to notice it. So our brain didn't notice it. An example I give of this is that I see 420 often on my phone. It's not a sign from the universe. It's nothing more than the fact that I've gotten into this rhythm of checking the time at 4:20 every day. And I wouldn't even think to mention it. I wouldn't even think to notice it if 4:20 didn't have any significance for me, but it does, because I'm from California and I've had a lot of pot smokers in my life, even though I don't smoke. So no shade to smokers. That's another subject for another day, but you know, it doesn't even hold significant, like I'm trying to show you guys how little significance something can have to be brought to your attention. Because just because I've had other people in my life go 420, I notice 420 on my phone. Like specifically, I will go check my phone, pick it up daily, and it'll be 420. It's a rhythm I've gotten into. We have human rhythms. We have cycles in the universe that aren't signs from the universe. There's rhythms to everything, and not all of them are signs from the universe. So if you do want to start recognizing what are signs from the universe and aren't, there's one other thing that I want to share with you. And this is kind of how this whole conversation came up on Instagram to start with recently, was that I was at the gas station, and when the pump automatically shut off on its own, it ended at 369 in that order. And then even the last two digits were like 33 or 66 or 99 or something like that. I just can't remember which. And so when I was seeing that, I posted on Instagram, because I had been talking about angel numbers on your phone with the time not being a sign from the universe. I posted, if there was anything I was going to take as a sign from the universe, that would be it. That would be something I'd take. But like I said, we as spiritual beings trying to live up to spiritual levels of consciousness, shedding that need for outside validation, even from the universe, is very important. So we, at a minimum, want to, at least through process of elimination, start by asking ourselves, is this something that is in our control? And what I mean by in our control is everything I just explained. Is it just a rhythm of an animal, rhythm that we have? Is it just our brain noticing something that we didn't notice before that was always there? These kinds of things are the things that are in our control. Something like my gas pump, like literally the things that had to come together to make that say 369, are completely out of my control. How much gas I had in my tank when I decided to stop at the gas station. How much the price of gas was at the time. These little things come together in the universe synchronistically. And, through the roll of the dice in that sense. So if there was anything you could trust as a sign from the universe, it's the things that are outside of your control, rather than the things that are in any way in your control, even if you're not consciously controlling them. But when it comes down to it, and this is really what I want to communicate today and share a little bit about, is, and I've even been going through this process of shedding outside validation. I talk about it in one of my last videos, how, when it comes to our self-esteem and self-worth, even I have had moments where I've been concerned about what other people think about me and getting outside validation because I was insecure. But if we really want to live at spiritual levels of consciousness, we have to start letting go of the outside validation and start tuning in to that part of us that is God, source, spirit, cosmic consciousness, and tune into that for our validation. We all have a divine dharma, and that means a divine purpose. And I want to show you guys this little video clip because I like, rather than trying to recreate it, I like how succinctly he says it. So I want to show you this clip from Guru Jagat's channel.
You have to, your life has to have some purpose. And if you know what that purpose is and you're fulfilling that purpose, you're a happy person. If you're not sure what that purpose is, you're searching. and which is perfectly okay. But at a certain point, you've got to kind of figure out what you came to the planet to do and then start to do it. And if you're lost and confused, it makes for an unhappy existence. So I have to essentially clear out basically the programming I was given, that so I can find out what my kind of identity is and what my purpose is. And the parapsychology takes us beyond the realm of our conditional education, imprinted family, genetic, cultural systems, so I can actually find out who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. And when I find out what I'm supposed to be doing, then I enjoy life. And if I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, then I struggle.
So we all have this divine purpose, and there are patterns in the universe. But what's more important than catching the patterns outside of us is starting to catch the patterns inside of us. We have these patterns that we do, and when we can start to learn them, when we can start to observe them, when we can actively start to observe ourselves, not just in the moments that we consciously do so, but make it part of our autopilot to observe ourselves, the need for outside validation goes away, because like I was saying in my other video, we start to get to know ourselves enough to love ourselves, enough to trust ourselves, to be confident in ourselves, to not need that outside validation. There is a term in the Fourth Way, a spiritual tradition that was started by Gurdjieff, that's called self-remembering. And it blows my mind when I have these moments of self-remembering, because they happen more and more as I devote more of my time to my own spiritual practices, not just teaching them, but actually making sure that I'm not just learning them once, but actively practicing them every day, more and more, devoting more of my time to it, getting up earlier to do it. And the self-remembering that they talk about in A Course in Miracles is the term, it's basically the term that they use for actually having that moment of connectiveness with that part of you that is source inside of you. Because we are the universe looking back at itself. And so the way I would describe a moment of self-remembering is that it is kind of like an out-of-body experience. I don't feel like I'm looking through my eyes, but as if I'm standing just behind my eyes, looking through them. As if I'm looking out through a window that is my eyes. And it's this moment where you have this elation, this joy, where you're looking around going, wow, this is my life. Cool. Awesome. Like, you're overwhelmed with joy, love, compassion. It's a moment of sheer excitement for the fact that you're living this life. And there are times where I will literally have these out-of-body sort of experiences where I am still in my body, but not of my body, where I will, for instance, be not filming a video, but editing a video, where looking at myself, my brain doesn't recognize the image of me as me. Well, simultaneously, I do still intellectually understand I'm looking at myself, but we have that recognition when we look at ourselves of that's me. And when you have these moments of self-remembering, when you get to higher and higher spiritual levels of consciousness, which, especially, I believe that Gurdjieff really experienced these things because of the way he describes them and the way I've been experiencing them. The more I've been really immersing myself in these things, not just on a moment-to-moment basis, but living it, fully embodying it in all that I do, in every moment of life, not just a daily practice in the morning or a daily practice in the evening, but my life. Like, it gives a whole new meaning to my entire life, every moment being this spiritual way of being. It really does give you not only this constant gratitude for the life that you're living, but it also gives you this oneness, this feeling of oneness, where you're recognizing things in different ways. You're seeing things in different ways than you did before. And so you start to let go of this need for these outside validations because you're getting it from within on a constant, not even a regular basis, on a constant basis. So before I get to the exercise that I want to share with you guys today, because I want to share with you guys an exercise that will help you tune in and start to connect. It's a Kundalini exercise that helps you start to connect with the part of you that is higher power. But before that, I want to share with you guys this one last thing, which is that I always remembered listening to Wayne Dyer talk about how he walked on the stage for his graduation the same day that his teacher passed away, Abraham Maslow. And I was just thinking about how Wayne Dyer passed away on maybe not the same day, but in the same month that I got my my business license, when I got my certification in life coaching from the other college that I went to and got my business license and started my private practice. And Wayne Dyer always talks about how he felt like that was sort of a moment for him that was a passing of the torch, where he says, you know, his teacher was telling him, okay, I've taught this to all the academics. Now you go teach it to the taxi drivers, to, you know, the shop owners, to everyone else. And I was thinking about, you know, without trying to use it as a moment of outside validation, I thought it was interesting to notice that this sort of same passing of the torch of having Wayne Dyer pass away in the same month that I was doing these things. And I wouldn't be surprised if I could look it up, that it was within the same week, if not the same day, that I was doing these things, that it was probably right about the time that I was securing my business name for my business license to start my private practice. But so it was kind of a cool moment to realize that, just like Wayne Dyer talking about his teacher passing the torch and that feeling for him as if his teacher was passing the torch by passing away on the day that he was graduating, it feels like this unique sort of passing of the torch from Wayne Dyer, because though I have many different teachers and teachings and traditions and lineages that I learn from, Wayne Dyer is like my inspiration when it comes to, in Think and Grow Rich, and they teach you, he teaches you to have your, oh God, what do they call it? Hold on, I have it right here. Your spiritual advisors. And they don't have to be people who are alive, but they're people that you want to emulate, that you look up to. And Wayne Dyer has been on the top of my list for I don't know how long. So it was just sort of cool to notice that sort of synchronicity. And that, if anything, would be something I would take as a sign from the universe, because that's something completely out of my control. I didn't do that in any way on purpose. I didn't even know Wayne Dyer had passed away back then. I had barely heard of Wayne Dyer when I was, I had heard of him. I had read one of his books, but I hadn't really studied him the way I have now. Didn't look up to him in the way I do now. So it's kind of interesting to think about it. All right, guys, the last thing I want to share with you is a Kundalini practice that you can use to connect with your higher self, the part of you that is higher power. So in Kundalini, they very much literally bow to the teacher within. And they have a Kundalini mantra for this. And it's Om Namo Gurudev Namo. And we do this as a chant. And it literally means I bow to the teacher within. And then there is the second part. They're all variations of bowing to the eternal teacher that you also have within in different ways. I will put it on the screen as it is written and the meaning of it. All right, so go ahead and put your hands and look straight ahead, and it's gonna go Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Ready? Om Namo Gurudev Namo. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. One more time. Om Namo Gurudev Namo. All right, for this next part, I want you guys to have your palms up if you can. If you can't, like I said, if you're driving, just keep your hands on the steering wheel and just repeat after me. So this next one is a little longer. It's going to be Aad Guray Namey, Jugaad Guray Namey, Chants Guray Namey, Siri Dayvay Namey. And I will do this slowly so that you can repeat after me. So go ahead with your palms up, facing forward. Aad Guray Namey, Jugaad Guray Namey, Chants Guray Namey, Siri Dayvay Namey. Aad Guray Namey, Jugaad Guray Namey, Chants Guray Namey, Siri Dayvay Namey. Let's try it a little faster this time. It sounds better when it starts to get a little faster. Ready? Aad Guray Namey, Jugaad Guray Namey, Chants Guray Namey, Siri Dayvay Namey. Aad Guray Namey, Jugaad Guray Namey, Chants Guray Namey, Siri Dayvay Namey. One more time. Aad Guray Namey, Jugaad Guray Namey, Chants Guray Namey, Siri Dayvay Namey. All right, I want you to take a big deep breath in. Bring your hands back to your heart. Hold. Release and relax. Everything is vibration. And the more you can use the different forms of vibrations to raise your vibration, the more you will start to get in touch, tune into this part of you that is God, source, spirit, cosmic consciousness, that has all the validation you'd ever need, so that you can stop looking for signs from the universe outside of yourself and get that from your intuition. And there's all sorts of practical things that go along with this. That's why I created my intuitive lifestyle course and ended up ultimately putting it on Patreon, and for everybody. Because if we really want to tune in rather than tuning out, we have to start to do these practices where we are getting to know ourself, our true inner self, that's not being concerned with what we think others think of us, that's not trying to get the outside universe to validate us, but have that validation from within so that we don't have to rely on anyone else if we don't want to. Because there's nothing wrong with asking for help when it would be helpful. But there are times when what's best for us is to be able to tune in. Sometimes there are times where we don't have anyone else that we can rely on. And being able to be confident in those moments builds that unshakable peace that we are building when it comes to spiritual levels of consciousness. That is one of the things that A Course in Miracles talks about, is anything at all that is an upset of any kind, even a mild annoyance, it's taking away from your peace. And when it comes to understanding on human terms, one of the things that we're building for ourselves when it comes to reaching spiritual levels of consciousness is that unshakable peace inside that allows you to have that solid foundation that makes it so that when life happens, it is moments, not minutes, not hours, not days, not even months, but moments of insecurity, moments of upset, moments of suffering. And then having tuned in so much, the human switches off as far as the way you're thinking. The cosmic within you switches on. And then all solutions, abundance, and possibility is right there at your fingertips for you to reach out and grab. It's like having, it's like going from having a dirty windshield that's so dirty that because the sun is glaring through it, it's like you're blinded, you can't see anything. But when you clean that windshield, all of a sudden, without the dust and the dirt to refract the light, all of a sudden you can see clearly. We all have a windshield of life and a lifetime of bugs on our windshield that we have to clean before we can really see what there is to be seen in this world, this crazy world of ours. Thank you guys for joining me for another video. I can't wait to see what you guys have to say about that first exercise I gave you. I want to know. I've had one person come back to me and say, I saw repeating numbers all the time, and it was a 7. I don't want any of these stinking, I saw a 7 every time. That's not what we're talking about. I want the repeating numbers because that's what people are using. That's what people are calling angel numbers. And there is divine inspiration to be had out there. It's just not coming from your phone. So I want to know. I want to know how this experiment works out for you. Let me know in the comments. And as always, may the energies you serve you well. Let's keep making our way through. And I'll see you in the next one.